session where in Bangalore. For film societies, Bangalore is very important because this is the only city which has a cultural complex thanks to the thriving film society movement of the city, the Sujitra complex, which some of you must be members and going there. They are the only ones which has a proper campus, so that's what I thought. Must interact with people here. What's happening to that film society, which used to be a big draw during 60s and 70s up to 80s, and these days in the times of digital formats, you don't get to hear a lot of things. But overall, I will say. Uh, the film society spirit in is thriving in a digital, in a different way. May not be like the old days. So I will trace the history of film society movement and come to what's happening now. It's based on my book, which is the second edition of the history of Indian Film Society movement. The first edition came in 2017, and after the COVID, I was told to revise it, or in fact, they wanted the new publisher wanted a second edition. So I revised the whole thing because there was no OTT, before COVID. Now everything is digital, not just torrent, but you can actually see good films in OTT if you are choosing. And not only that, with OTT, you tell any friends across the world that this film is in Netflix, they can watch it. That's a kind of impact which digital transformation of films and film viewing has made. But before, anything in the present has a past, how it evolved over the years. That's what my book says. So we will just see what's it's a small presentation, 20 slides, so you'll get through it's a concise thing of what is a film society, how it developed in India, who are the people behind it, who are the leaders, who are still surviving, like Sujitra, there are a few of them who are still surviving. So let's look at the definition. The definition is not mine. It's given by Federation of Film Societies of India in 1967. What is a film society? It's a group of people who screens films of outstanding technical, historic, artistic merit, initiating a discussion about films. It's almost like if you show a film here and you all discuss what is it in it from various angles. In India, the first film society was in Bombay. During the war, its friends Borka was a Hungarian cameraman in the British Army unit. So as we were just discussing, the film as a medium was invented in 1995 or 85 or 95. I'm just 19th century by the French, and the two wars actually slowed its development. But during the war, I think both sides used this medium extensively. The newsreels, if I don't know, anybody has heard about newsreels. A lot of us grew up on newsreels in India also. Newsreels were a big thing during the war. That's how we saw. There's no television those days. So Borka was one of those cameramen who was shooting war scenes in Asia. He was based in Bombay, so he started that film society. It was Bombay. It was called Bombay Film Society. But in independent India, it is Satyajit Ray and Chidananda Das Gupta who started in 1947, October itself. Everybody was building a new India, so it is part of that. And you don't need introduction to Satyajit Ray. He actually put India in the global map. Even today, when the British Film Institute has every 10 years they have a list of all-time great films. They come out with 100, and polling through uh, polling through the about 1,000 art critics, directors, film technicians across the world. I was lucky enough to be part of that last 2021. So Padher Panchali is there for the last so many years. It's there in the 100 all-time greats. In fact, my book starts with a quote of Volker Schondorf, a German filmmaker, on why he's nominating Padher Panchali as all-time greats. So it's like it's also a tribute to the spirit of Indian look for Indian idiom in films. Padar Panchali. If you're looking back, so that's the history. And what are the driving forces behind the Film Society movement? It is search for Indian idiom in films. In fact, it is Nehru who started this. The Sahitya Academy, Lalit Kala Academy, Sangeet Nadaga Academy. So he also wanted to look up. The films were not developed as a medium of art those days, but he still wanted to, because he knew that it is a very popular medium. So he still wanted to look at that portion. So that's why he began to talk about Indian idiom in films, because we have a great story narrative tradition in India. So Nehru thought that that will build on in the Film Society movement. And then came the obsession with educating the masses. India's literacy rate was below 50, those days. So can we use films as a medium for education? And of course, then the films have become popular in India, but foreign films, the English films are dominating the Indian scene thanks to the British Raj legacy. It is like in mainland cities, I'm told, most of the 90% was English films, only 10% was, the local films. Now it's the other way around. We all feel it. So this whole film society was part of this transformation which happened. Uh, and also, there was, okay, sorry, there was a yearning for non-Hollywood films, because films were developing as a medium in, there was news from Soviet Union, Eastern Bloc countries, Japan, France. So people involved in the films wanted to see all these films. In those days, films access was a big issue. It was a celluloid. The box had to move through the ships, or I think the air transport was not so developed. So it was all ship transfers and all. So and there was a deliberate effort by the Nehruvian, government to popularize Indian films. They wanted more Indian films, and the Cold War helped us a lot in this, because both Eastern Bloc, I think most of the people here in their 20s and 30s, they won't know what is Cold War. A lot of us went through the beneficiaries of that. As journalists in Delhi, all of us are given an option of either going to US universities or a US trip or the Eastern Bloc countries. So two of us here went to the West Berlin, the Europe, not the East Berlin. So the Cold War, actually both the groups worked on India. India was a free space, democratic space. It happened after they say after the Greek, soon after the Second World War. Greece was going the Soviet way. The Americans wanted to prevent it, so they realized that culture is an important tool in preventing or popularizing ideological changes. So both the parties used films. In fact, there's a famous saying of Lenin that film is the medium of the masses. Uh, and then came the uncensored films. Now, if you say that, it doesn't make any sense to anybody here, because seeing uncensored or all the films were censored. Censorship was like rigorous, and one of the reasons, if you go through the documents of that, which I found very amusing, British introduced censorship in India because there was a Rangacharya report. He was a jurist. I think it is in 1924 or something. He recommended there must be strict uh, censorship of films because most of the people involved in films were either black marketeers or people with dubious characters. So there is hardly any artists or anybody. So they must be controlled in the interest of the social harmony and social issues. That's why that is the background of Indian censorship, which is very light these days. If you see films like Animal, you'll be shocked, because it is still continuing like the old days. Uh, Above all, they say the films those days were very crass. There's hardly anybody with any literary figure, any theatre person of what going to films those days in 50s and 60s. So there was a push to change it. That's how the film society movement also came in. And who are the people who are behind it? This is the list of visionaries I'm putting. I'm putting Mrs. Gandhi as a person, not as a prime minister. But as a prime minister, also she was involved fully. If you read the book, my book, you'll know that her intervention, very very personal interventions. Like Satyajit Ray, nobody can nobody can ignore him because he started Calcutta Film Society in garret of his friends. He and Chidananda Das Gupta. Chidananda Das Gupta is the father of Aparna Sen, actor and director. She is more familiar name these days. And then Mrs. Gandhi was, the last, but I think the one before the present FFSI, Federation of Film Societies president was Mrs. Gandhi's cousin Gautam Kaul. So during the research of this book, I asked him, how come she got involved? So he bluntly told me, I said, look, you must realize that she was educated in Switzerland. She knew French. So she was educated in schools there. So she had that, she knew what was arts and culture and everything. She had a deep interest in arts and culture. If you read Pupul Jagger's biography of her, which I am doing these days, she mentions this whole thing of Mrs. Gandhi's interest in arts and films and all. And I don't know how many people here have heard about Mary Satan. Babu sir, of course, have heard. You should have met both of you should have met Mary Satan. Uh, Mary Satan is played an important role in making Indian films what it is today. She is behind Film Institute of India, Pune. She's advisor to NB Ministry, advisor to Film Division, which got merged with NFDC. In fact, she was the eyes and ears of Mrs. Gandhi and Nehru from 56 onwards till she died. So in fact, the Gandhi film, she played an important role in getting Attenborough to agree to make that film. She is a British lady. Yeah, she was in the India League of Krishna Menon in London, British socialist, and she coordinated this whole integration of the global effort at making film as a medium, which is worth the, which is as parallel to the novel or any other arts. Her contribution, I think, not much people have heard about that. So is Abbas, the film society which contributed most film uh, directors is the Film Forum of Bombay. Abbas converted his trade union. He was a CPI card holder, but he converted his trade union, film trade union, into a film society. He said, "Look, you are in film, working in the film. You must see the best of films to improve your own skill." That's how he started Film Forum, where Bombay Film Society merged with Films Forum. So if you remember Basu Bhattacharya, Basu Chatterjee, uh, Vijay Tendulkar, Khalid Muhammad, all of them are Film Forum people. So that's a contribution they made. So is most of this Bombay people who went to uh, Pune Film Institute were either members of Film Forum and the other film societies which came up. And Jahangir Bhavanagari, I'm sure, again, very few people have heard about him. He was a French Indian. He was in the British film during the war. I think he was with the British film unit, the predecessor of film division. Then he went to UNESCO. He was also another brain trust of Mrs. Gandhi and Nehru in making. He was behind the first International Film Festival of India in 1952. Mind you, that time there was no film festivals in Asia. India was the first one to do it. It was a rowing film festival from, I think, the four metro cities. Bangalore didn't come, I think, 52. They came in 52. Okay. So he was behind it. And Satish Bahadur, again, Satish Bahadur was a professor in the first professor of film appreciation in Pune Film Institute. People who have been to the Pune, the summer residency of this thing, they know his, yes. And he was picked up by Mary Satan from St. John's College. He was an economics professor in there. He was picked up because he was running a film society, in the classical form, giving what you call the notes, backgrounds to people before seeing, and then discussing the film with the students. So Mary Satan said that, look, nobody trained him, but he has already developed this kind of seeing films and discussing it. So he was roped in to become he was reluctant because nobody knew what a film institute was those days in 61. That he joined and he retired from there. And in fact, Adur says that one of the reasons why he started a film society in Kerala in 65, after he passed out, it was all inspired by Satish Bahadur. He said, look, if you need to make new kinds of films, you need to create new kind of audience. That's exactly what Satyajit Ray did it in Calcutta. People like Adur did it. Satyajit Ray did it out of love for the medium. Adur did it on the possibilities shown by Satish Bahadur. People like Satish Bahadur, they kept saying that, look, you want to make a different kind of film, you need to create or sensitize the audience for it. Otherwise, you will fall flat. So, and PK Nair, he's also a film buff from Trivandrum, but he's the director. He literally built National Film Archive. And he was the biggest supporter of film societies in its heydays, because you write to him for a film, he'll get a reply. This is the conditions. If you agree, I'm sending you the film. No money is charged. That's the way they function, because they were all evangelists. What we nowadays we call IT, a lot of tech evangelists. They were film evangelists. And Vijay Mulai was, she was working with, she was again a lady of much, qualification. She was a Leeds student when India got independence, and she worked in the government of India in the education ministry. She was involved in the first satellite experiment project called SITE during emergency in 70s. And she was also Delhi Film Society's all in all. She started, when she was in Patna, she started a Patna Film Society. And Anil Srivastava, a friend of mine, he as a student in Bhopal in early 60s, he's contemporary of Jaya Bahaduri Bachchan. They started a film society in their school, and Nehru went and, Nehru was amused that students are also, we want to see international films. There's a lot of craze about documentaries like Nanook of the North, if you've seen. It's about this igloo people of Siberia. So that kind of thing was happening, and these were the people who Anil is alive. You talk to him, even today he's in the US, he is married to Karuna Banerjee, who acted in Padar Panchali. Karuna Banerjee's daughter is Yashamba. They are still excited about it. When I said that, look, I'm going to Bangalore, I said, look, maybe if they permit, I will ask you to come online. He said, anytime, I'll talk about. And he's trying to coordinate the film institutes across the world now with what is left of film societies across the world. He said, look, these all of them have to come together to sustain this movement. So that's the kind of spirited people. And these are the milestones, the independent India's. 47 Calcutta Film Society. 1950, there's a committee by the Nehru government called S.K. Patil Film Inquiry Committee. They were the ones behind, recommendation of FTI, Film Finance Corporation, Archive, film festivals, National Film Awards. All of it is done in 1950. It got implemented, 52 in the first film festival, 61 FTI, I think a little later Film Finance Corporation, which has become National Film Development Corporation. So like that. Then there was a seminar organized by Sangeet Nada Academy in 55. The whole effort was to examine the possibility of a film Charachitra Academy, which Karnataka has got and Kerala has got. But it fell flat because it is too early for India. You know who were the directors of the seminar? Prithviraj Kapoor and Devika Rani. They were the directors of that seminar. And it was a consultation. How do we go about developing India, Indian films? Then came Padar Panchali. The seminar was in February. Padar Panchali was like 55. I was reading Pupul Jayaka's biography of Mrs. Gandhi. She says that she organized the Festival of India kind of exposition in modern art gallery in New York. And that is the first time Padar Panchali was shown abroad. You know, it was part of the cultural thing. It was totally new for India to show a film, and because by then the word spread that there is a great film which is being made. So it was I think the curator from there also came and they wanted to showcase it. So and then 56 Mary Seton came. She pushed the films and in fact, she was the one behind making Film Society into a national movement, I'll say. So, and I'll detail it a little later. And then FFSI, Federation of Indian Film Film Societies of India, was formed in 59 December. And with Calcutta Film Society, Patna Film Society, Delhi Film Society, Lucknow Film Society, Roorkee, the Roorkee IIT, which is now there, it was a road research organization, so there was a film society there. They also came. Then Madras Film Society. So it was like, it was on the recommendation of Mary Seton that India is ripe for a movement for this. You make a national organization and push it to other regions. So that's what the whole strategy. And it worked in 59 or December again. They formed a university film council under UGC, and UGC said that we will give you 5,000 rupees grant to any college which has a 16mm projector and is willing to show good films. It didn't, UGC being a very bureaucratic organization, it didn't take off. That's a different thing altogether. It's a big loss to the Film Society movement, in fact. And it all happened because of political patronage. Prime Minister Nehru and Indira Gandhi. Nehru was a connoisseur of arts. So was Mrs. Gandhi. So they both saw this huge opportunity in Indian films. People were mesmerized by films those days. So they wanted to push the Indian idiom or Indian cultural legacies into films. They saw Film Society movement as something which can help them in doing it. So Nehru bought Mary Seton. She was appointed as advisor in Education Ministry. Mrs. Gandhi, when she became INB minister and Prime Minister later, one of the joint secretary or the social secretaries was also the joint secretary of FFSI, monitoring things and helping film societies with any government interventions. INB ministry was the biggest supporter. Mrs. Gandhi was INB minister before she became prime minister. She was the one behind the one, she allowed FFSI to import films. They gave them annual grant, plus also exempted from censorship. The reason was that the embassy said, okay, we will give you films free, but we don't want your censors to chop it. So they went to Mrs. Gandhi. Mrs. Gandhi said, okay, fine. FFSI president was Satyajit Ray all his life. He said, ask Manikda to send me a letter. So it was duly sent, and she signed it, and that's how film societies become the, in a way, adda of uncensored films later, which become a pain in the wrong place for the people who are running it. So, and then National Film Archive, FTI, FFC, all of it was all planned, from the SK Patil committee thing. It's all political. There was a Nehruvian imprint of, for all of this. And the National Film Awards, which is now become, it's like nobody's baby. If you see the film awards, how they threw up new filmmakers, especially the ones from regional sites, and also the Film Institute fellows, who should have known about Kumar Shani or Manikal or Adur Gopalakrishnan or Girish Kasravalli, but for national awards, because it is also flagging excellence in that medium. So people get excited. The Adur Gopalakrishnan became what he is in Kerala thanks to that 4 national awards he got it for his first film called Swayamvaram. We recently, I think 2 years back, we celebrated 50 years of Swayamvaram. So that's what the whole purpose was, that to nurture excellence in films. I think I'm being slow. But government heavily supported all this movement. It was like government took it as its own program. It is not a private, left it to others the way it is left now. No, it was all deliberate by the government policy. Any award, any international award was seen as a success of that policy. So that's a thing. And then to enhance or give it a national thing, national character to this whole movement, FTI, Film Institute and National Archive organized a summer residency in June, at which Babu sir have gone. I have gone there. Many of the seniors should have gone. And it is 1 month. It is like a film study group. They are shown, filmmakers and technicians will come and speak to you. They will lecture demonstrations. Then in the evening, it's all full of films. You will see at least in 1 month at least 50, 60 films. Is it not so? So it is all celluloid era films. It's not digital the way it is today. So that was like, the people came from all regions of India, from Kerala to Assam to Northeast. People came. They all went with spirited. They are like evangelists of new film culture. So that is all done by the government. It's part of the policy. And in Karnataka, you have this. Who's that village where? What is forgot his name? The theatre person who. Yes, he went there and he started showing films in the village, and it became a big news. Such films are received by the villagers also, kind of thing. So. And film sources, those days getting film was not an easy task like today. Today you can get films just like that. So initially it was a central film library attached to Ministry of Education. Then National Film Archive came. The whole central film library films were moved to archive. The diplomatic missions, the Soviet bloc and the Western bloc, they all began to compete. It was a competition between the two blocs to show their films in India. It's all free. You just have to write to them. They will send the thing, send the boxes to you. You have to ensure that it is given back, and people used to do that. And then there was this film finance corporation films, which was made like Bhuvan Shom, Manikal's films, Kumar Shani's films. Even I think Girish's first film is also no, Kadasatra is not.
Yeah, other people they got.
I think
GVI and all.
yes, they got the money from there. I think Samskara was NFDC, so also was this thing. Yeah. This thing. So then, uh, yeah, who was behind it? Like if you see Sujitra was, all of them were engineers in the public sector. You know, and Mr. Narahari Rao was an engineer in BEL. You know, so yeah. So it is those days who were building the new India, the public sector, the academics, and mostly government employees, bank employees. All of them were engaged in building new India. This is part of that. You know, this is a new medium, and people got involved. And it is mostly the English educated nation builders, I'll call them. I call them nation builders because that's what Vijay Mola told me, that look, we were all helping Nehru and the new nation to come out with our own sectoral developments. We never thought that when we did what we did those days, we never thought Indian films become that big, globally it is going to get globally noticed, or it is going to make crores. Nobody ever thought those days, but it happened over a period of time, and that interested other art stream like Girish Karnad, he was a theatre man, B.V. Karant, again theatre, Patapi Ramareddy, Aravindan from Kerala, he was a cartoonist essentially and a theatre person. Vasu Chatterjee he was also cartoonist. Jawahar Patel was a writer. So people like that came from all regional languages. And these are some of the list of popular films which most of you should have seen or heard about them. There is hardly any film society in India which has not shown Battleship Potemkin. That is its popularity. Of course, Indian New Wave films, Satyajit Ray, Sen and Ritik Katak films, then the Bergman films. National Film Archive have a package of Bergman films. In 70s, 3, 4 of them, and most of the film societies showed it. I saw it in Toronto when I was in the college those days. It was the first time it came. Like if you see a Ozu or a Kurosawa film, it's all from archive, not from anywhere else. And it's all free. It's nobody today. The National Film Archive charges minimum of 10,000 rupees per screening for a old film. It was all free those days. It is essentially government. Government was behind it. Some of the star film societies, of course, Sujitra is. Yeah, I took his photograph in some time back when I came looking. And the other one is Chitralekha Film Society, which had a parallel film cooperative, which had a studio in Toronto. Of course, it went down the hill. Calcutta Film Society is still thriving with few activities. Delhi Film Society, it was all officers and diplomatic missions. They had big parties and all. In 1980, I remember it was full. It is, of course, the uncensored films crowd had, joined the bandwagon, but it was all full. Things. Any new film there, it was a full house always. Chitralekha Film Society of Adur. Sujitra, of course, is unique. It was a cultural complex, thanks to all the pioneers here. So, and the new wave. And Padher Panchali excited India those days. Initially there was a criticism, it was selling poverty abroad and all. But the life in it, the village life, the empathy of for poor people, and the way it is depicted, it is a deep human impact, which still people across the world feels that. If you see the restored version, I saw the restored version of Padar Panchali. It is you don't need color in that film because it's so gripping. You know, I was in fact in Delhi. There was a show of three films, the Apu trilogy. Yeah, and the tribute to Karuna Banerjee when she turned 100 years, just before COVID. So it was shown there. They called Adur also. I asked him, how is it? He says it's better than the original. Because even, because the old celluloid, whatever is the issue, it had a humming in the sound because of the mixing issue. When the tracks are mixed, it's a technical thing, limitation of the celluloid. In digital, you don't have that. So when you can even hear the rumbling of the trees, the leaves and the whole moment, the ripples, everything can be captured. Even if, and there is a specialized lab in Italy which does all these things, which is, all these things are digital. That's why I put this digital thing, whether we are going, William Society is also is going digital. Because all these things are happening in the digital because the help of the digital technologies. And and the new wave, actually the film society became popular thanks to the new wave, starting with the Bowen show, 69 onwards. That's a high period in the 70s. Because people thought something is happening. National awards were happening, international awards were happening. Uh, Indian films never went to other big film festivals, Venice or Cannes or Karlovy Vary and Berlin. Films began to go, and some of them got awards. So it is like big news, excitement for people. So and then the new people began to take new wave very seriously. Each film society, uh, competed with others to show new wave films. So in fact, I remember having seen some Skara back home in Trivandrum long back in '75 or '76. So all of this films. Uh, then came in '80s onwards, '80s, end of '80s, you had regional film festival, Bangalore festival, Calcutta, Trivandrum, all of it came. It was a progression. And academic appreciation of films as a medium started because a lot of film appreciation camps used to happen. In Bangalore, Sujitra should have organized it. So it's in many all regions. That is all giving film society moment and new films, leverage with the audience. And along with that, a new generation of film writers and as earlier it was all, people were looking at stars, what they did, how they acted and all. Now people began to talk about directors, camera work, how the aesthetics of films. So the whole thing went to change. Babu sir here is came out with a deep focus, from Bangalore. There's one of the, if you see, if I saw some of the issues in archive. I was amazed the kind of seriousness which you people went about those days. So that is all new in India. So and today about over 200 universities have films as a subject, either film studies alone or with media studies. Films is a subject. So that's the way it's moved over the years. And of course, things change with time and technology, and of course, the whole world changed with the fall of Soviet Union and Eastern Bloc. The Cold War ended. Then came the national TV in India. If you remember national TV's introduction, I happened to see most of the new wave films in the late night shows of the initial days of national TV. Later it becomes Sunday afternoon, but it's all there. That's where the government involvement was there. As long as Mrs. Gandhi was alive, then it continued in Rajiv Gandhi's time also. Then globalization, making availability of films, non-exclusive. It's become very difficult now. No embassy will give you because they say, look, we have to also pay. Earlier it was part of the cultural package. No, now no embassy gives any films free because it's all commercially driven. Commercial rights are sold to some party and they will demand money. Uh, and of course, the middle class, has mostly lost interest in, films. It's become a different kind of thing altogether. And the internet first came the video, then the digital formats, now the internet OTT. So it's like you don't need to go assemble somewhere to see a film unless you are a connoisseur, you are into academics or the films. You can see it at home. So you can borrow a DVD. Like I was trying to see Oppenheimer in my OTT. I had to pay 99 rupees. At home I can see it. But of course I don't get that big screen feeling. So, but I get a feel of the film. So that has happened. So you can't have film society moment in the same old tradition. Of course, the is the emergence of uncensored films in video. It started with film society movement. There's a lot of uncensored films uh, in during the 70s and 80s, the Eastern Bloc and the Western Bloc. And nudity was a big thing in India those days. No Indian films, there's no pornography, nothing in India. So it was like exciting. I still remember in Delhi, some of those people knew where it was. It'll happen. After some nude pictures and all, you'll find how the people living the thing. It's like my God, yeah, where have you ended up? That kind of thing. But now it's all nobody has any problem with all these things. The whole way things have changed, and this is also one of the attractions of film society movement. Seeing uncensored films those days, and now what has happened is that the Nehruvian era has ended in films in India with the merger of film division.
GPS signal lost.
Sorry, what's that? Okay, so all this merger of film institutions, government patronage, INB ministry, before this merger, if you see, there's a list of how many films are censored and all of it. You go to the INB ministry website, nothing. Film, there is this kind of stagnation in the film society leadership also because the new generation has not come in. The digital evangelists not yet come in. Some of them, like I'm told, Sujitra, you have new generation people coming. Not everywhere. Uh, and I don't know if I talk about 16 and 35 film formats. How many people here will even know what it is? That's the situation. The whole formats have changed, and digital format. Like I'm curating a film festival in IIC, India International Center in Delhi. We'll write, look, we don't have DCP, we have this Blu-ray, this thing, so please send us this. And so that's the way it is happening now. And you don't need to send it, they will just send it, over the mail. So it has become that easy. So then academic reorientation from social sciences, because earlier social sciences was a big thing. Now it's all management and technology. So even academic institutions, uh, for art and other things, there's no much premium attached to it these days. So that's also affects this kind of moments. And the only hope for film societies nowadays is the universities. Like I'm part of the Talking Films Online Film Society, but Babu sir also is there. Uh, Today, in fact, one of my old professor friend is leading a discussion on 27 Down. I don't know whether anybody, few people should have heard about that film. It is a one film wonder that filmmaker died or committed suicide. It is a very great film of 70s, part of the new wave. So he said, look, this film needs to be tagged. People must know about it. So they're discussing it. They see it the online links are sent and they discuss it over Zoom on a Saturday evening. At 9 o'clock it starts today. So, And I find most of them participants are uh, academics attached to institutions, because it is part of their curriculum also to update themselves, to be in that circuit, in the with the films, with the film discussion. So they do that online. uh, of course government support is almost gone. And we ministry is becoming fans of Bollywood. It's like any international film festival, it is like they are giving awards to them, some of the superstars or stars from various regions, and celebrating them. It's not no more celebrating real talent or creativity in films. And FFSI they used to get a grant till 2014. It's all totally stopped. Government has withdrawn from this moment. Either some people want to carry forward, you're welcome. And censorship again, FFSI could recommend these films uh, must not be censored. It must be shown in our circuit. That power was taken back long back. And in fact, you can say that government has become cheerleaders for Bollywood. And the new thing is the political propaganda. You hear about a Kerala story, Kashmir file. Somebody did a film, Veer Sarwakar. During election time, all these films keep coming. So that's a new trend. You use the things for political propaganda, and nobody's bothered about the creativity or India winning an award in Cannes or something. Maybe the Film Institute and some of these people, the academics, must be bothered. The government no longer takes that as an achievement of the country or anything. It's like Cannes is like the Olympics of films. If you get an award, it's like Olympic medal. So, and India still participate in Olympics, but can find, yeah, somebody goes there and they all show themselves to be important people there. They represent India. That's what happening. Not they don't. Nobody is bothered about what's whether Indian films are being pushed to get an award there. So, but you still have some survivors, including Sujitra. Prabhat Chitramandal in Mumbai. Guwahati Cine Club is celebrating this year, I think, 60 years. Bhupan Hasarika and others started it. It is still going on there. And FFSI Kerala, Sujitra, Mumbai. See, one of the things, if you see all these centers, Calcutta, Sujitra, Bangalore, Mumbai, Guwahati, all of them have international film festivals also. And most of these film festivals, people behind this origin of this film festivals, if you look back, it is this film society people.
This started
Yes,
Bangalore International.
yes. So that's the thing. Same as in Calcutta, same as in Kerala. So it's all film society people was realized that we may not be able to do it on a regular basis. But let's do it in a big scale annually. So that's what I think you can see him there with an young face with Prakash Balavadi and all. So I came down to take this picture when I was doing researching for the book. See the regional film festival: Calcutta, Kerala, Bangalore, Chennai, Guwahati, Bombay. Third Eye again is Bombay. Bombay has two film festivals. Third Eye is by the film society's people, Prabhat Chitramandal and others. And this is a new trend, is it like, why are you talking about film society? In fact, when my book first went to two independent editors, one of them who recently found out whom he is, he said, do you know that I endorse your book completely? There was a second editor, he said, look, this movement is over. Why do you need a book? So I was lucky that my publishers decided, okay, fine. One is given 95%, the other one is like 50. So we'll go by the 95. Average is much higher. So that's why my book got published, so by a good publisher, Sage. So the why I revised it is that there is groups like TFO, And I'm sure many people here are part of many online groups, in Bangalore film fans, and like he's running a new experimental film society. So you have easy accessibility of films. So you can make a group of interest groups. Somebody is interested in experimental films. Somebody is interested in sport films. Somebody is interested in survivor thrillers. Somebody is interested in classics. You can all make groups, recommend films, see it, discuss it online. You get into a Zoom and you can do it. You don't need to go to a hall to discuss it. And OTT channels are again popularized, and there are huge online depositories like British Film Institute has an online collection. Criterion has online collection. They restore, spend money, restore old films and keep it. They have not only Satyajit Ray's but even uh, films like Pyasa, Raj Kapoor films. All of it been digitally mastered and put in. If you see that, it'll be you are amazed at the quality of films. So that's all happening. So which means that this whole movement is there, but in a different form. It is assumed a digital uh, platform, and people are using it for at their convenient location, convenient groupings. It's not only in India, across the world. And towards the end, what is that film society movement has done to India? It's not my conclusion. It is if there is a brain trust of Indian Film Society movement, it is Aparna Sen's father, Chidananda Das Gupta. His last book talks about the theory of Margi, the classical approach, and the Deshi is the popular. What film societies actually did is by showing classic films, good films across the world, has influenced the filmmakers. Like he takes example of Mani Ratnam. Mani Ratnam makes commercial films, or let's say even Subhash Ghai makes commercial films, but they are not crass. They may not be great philosophers and great creative work, but they are they also make their own creative contributions. In their through their film, through their visual vocabulary. So all these things are the influence of the good films which they saw. They know there is something like that. It's not crass anymore. It is not formula films anymore. Whether it is, if you see the films of Subhash Ghai to Mani Ratnam, I don't know who is doing it in Kannada. Every region has people like that. There's a mid cinema which has come, which is more acceptable to people than the commercial films these days. Of course, the commercial films are there, the pot boilers, so it'll continue. So that's the biggest contribution of Film Society movement. That you have created a group of, I'll say, connoisseurs of film as an art across India. Maybe small, but they are very influential. The filmmakers come from that group. Not everybody become a filmmaker there. Like I went to the Film Institute and I didn't get admission, so I went to Indian Institute of Mass Communication, Delhi. So it was a chance. Life, people take their chances. So, but my interest in films continued. That's how I ended up, writing a book and observing all these people. And see the way film people are accepted in the society, what it was earlier in 60s or 70s. I don't think film people had this kind of social acceptance. They were not celebrities per se. Occasionally their pictures used to come. Now, all newspapers, all television channels have beamed into you what these people are doing. So that's kind of social acceptance which these people have got. It is not anymore of dishum and rape and what do you call romantic scenes alone. It is a different ball game now. It's also a big money spinning area. Shah Rukh Khan is one of the. Shah Rukh Khan is a typical example. He was a Delhi boy, Jamia Media Center product. He went acted in television, and then he became a superstar. And he's one of the top earning film stars of the world. And he says, I don't want to go to Hollywood because I'm making enough money here. People are coming to me, so why should I go there? So, and they say, he also teases that a lot of these girls are going to this thing. Why should I go and act with them there again? They must. I have been acting here, like so. So that kind of situation has happened. I don't think other than Dilip Kumar, any of the artists or actors of that generation got that kind of respectability. Nargis was an example. Nargis was personal friend of Mrs. Gandhi. And Nargis' biggest fan was Egyptian President Nasser. He got so enamored by Mother India, he asked an Egyptian filmmaker to make a uh, Egyptian version of Mother India. He requested Nehru for a permission to visit India during the film fair award function so that he can meet Nargis. So all this thing is part of the history, because that made Nargis a big time star, and she was nominated to Rajya Sabha. She was, I think, the first one to be nominated to Rajya Sabha. So this kind of acceptability came through this whole process. Future trends, FFSI leadership. I'm not much convinced about FFSI leadership. Whenever I talk to them, I get very dejected. I say that, look, we can't change the rules. It takes time. It takes 6 years and all. I say, look, nobody has time for 6 years to wait for changes these days. So, but the interesting thing is the academic community, which handles media studies and film studies. They are coming forward, and I'm sure they will capture the space occupied by FFSI sooner or later. So exceptions like Sujitra, you are made into a cultural body, and but film as an anchor. So it's a different thing which has happened. There have been makeovers in Sujitra. Last time I went, there was a book discussion, and then all these things happening. And there's no political patronage to this movement, and government has now corporatized whatever is the film institutions. Digital film societies, film groupings. I'll say it's a makeover again of the film society movement into digital groups, which has happened. That is the only way forward. What is the historic this? Let's see what the masters say. Minalson, he's also a product of film society movement. Calcutta Film Society was his alma mater. He was president there. Then he became after Ray, he became president of FFSI also. I met him in 2012 when he turned 90. So he said, it's like parents are very important for a child to grow. Film societies have been very important for me to grow. That's the thing. That's a kind of positioning, or they have filmmakers have. So is Champanigal. He saw film Paday Panchali, I think, continuously, twice, 3 shows continuously in Calcutta. That's how he got into films. So is Adur. Adur is changed the landscape of Kerala Malayalam films. My next book is on that, the renaissance of Malayalam films. It's essentially Adur's work, film society work, and then his films. Just as what Ray did to Indian films, he did to Malayalam films. Summing up, a fruitful moment in films, evolution of class. I say again, this class to class, an emergence of Bollywood. But for this whole combined movement of film societies, film institute, film festivals, all of it together made Indian films from a class kind of entity to a class entity these days. Even most of the commercial films, see the film like Dungi and all, the way they have gone about it, subject of illegal immigration. It should have never imagined in 60s or 70s such films. So that's the thing which film society, and Rajkumar Hirani again is a film institute product. So, and future is only digital academic groups, no government patronage. So FFSI, the kind of looking at the dolls of the government, that is over. it's only the academics which will carry this, and they have to carry because they are in the academics. They have semester evaluations, annual studies, and everything. So they will, I'm sure they will take it forward. You'll find a lot of explanations of this in my book. And thank you, BIC, for hosting this session. Thank you, friends in Bangalore, for coming. And I must, see, this is the end of it. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, it's really great to see such a big crowd on a Saturday evening. And yeah, I'm really happy to see Mr. Sashidhara, who is actually one of the veterans of Suchitra Film Society. He has been with the Suchitra management for decades. And well, in Cherian's book, Sujitra is mentioned again and again and again. Mr. Narayarao's contribution, his leadership is also mentioned. And so it's really great to have Mr. Sashidra with us. And in fact, during the Q&A, I think he will help us by answering some of the questions. And I'm also very glad to see Nikhil Vaikar. Oh, yeah. Well, he's doing a great job. He's running the Parallel Cinema Club with great difficulty, and hats off to him. I'm happy that he's here, and he can, in fact, explain the difficulties he's going through, and perhaps we'll have some questions from him during the Q&A. Before that, I have jotted down some questions for Mr. Cherian. Yeah, my very first question for Cherian is, in your book I have read that it was Vijaya Mule who suggested that you can write a book on the Film Society movement. Now that was interesting, and I would like to know whether that was the only motivation, or what was the impetus for writing a book on the movement.
See, my impetus was, I was Chitralekha Film Society man as a college boy in Toronto. Then I went to my circle of friends in Toronto were mostly Film Society based. Though I was a science student, I ended up in the arts stream later in the PG and all. Thanks to this whole circle, there's a group of artists, writers, filmmakers, including Adur Gopalakrishnan. So, in 2010, I bought a flat in Toronto. Apart from I was in Delhi from 1980 onwards as a journalist. So I went there, and I was keen to find out what's happened to the Film Society movement. So Adur, I kept in touch with Adur, went and met him. I said, I have this thing, why not I write a piece on, a book on Kerala's Film Society movement. He said, well, that's, it's gone down, but nobody has written anything about the whole Film Society movement as such. There's some compilations and all. Then he talked to me about Mary Sathan. I also heard about her, and it's like one thing leads to other. So I began to find out what was her role in the Film Society movement. Then I was told by friends like Anil Srivastava that you must meet in Gautam Kaul. He's the cousin of Mrs. Gandhi. That's Kamala Nehru's brother's son, who was an IPS officer. He was FFSI president also. I've been seeing him he comes sometimes in international film festivals. He was an IPS officer, Delhi, posted in Delhi. He will come in his police uniform. And he's a DIG level person. He will laugh, smile, and have chit chat with us, and we'll say, oh, the only police officer who is seen in the film festival. We'll tease him and he will accept it. So I sat with him. I realized, my God, nobody has gone into this thing. The whole question of political patronage and people involved and I also heard about Vijay Mule. I've seen her. So I began to meet one by one people involved. One meeting led to the other meeting. That's how I said, look. Then somebody, when I first met Vijay Mule, she said, have you seen Mr. Narahira Rao's book? I said, yes. People have already suggested. I went through it. It's more a compilation of articles of various, Chidananda Gupta, various people, talking to various interviews and all. So she told me bluntly that, look, there is a book inside that book. If you can unearth that, that'll be a great story. So it's like, for me, it was like, so I went to archive, National Film Archive, sat there, look up, I saw deep focus and all of it. I kept looking for articles in all the journals about films. Then PK Nair was still alive. He told the researchers there to make a compilation of articles on film society movement in mainline media, English media especially. So I still have a collection of about 100 odd press clippings, including the one nobody knew what happened to University Film Council. But there is a Times of India report when it was inaugurated. What is the function of this? How they are going to got it? That's how I got it. So, and archive, National Film Archive Library is a storehouse of all this information, thanks to Nair Sahib. That's why I said, look, his contribution to the recording of film events and films, it's unparalleled. I think he's done a tremendous job for us as a country, and as films as a medium, from the first film to to the last film. He used to get a copy. It's like one book. Every publisher has to send one book to the National Library, so as for record purpose. So he wanted that kind of thing. All films must have a copy. A copy must be procured for National Archive. That is the spirit. And anything to do with films, film reports about in the media, reports, any books, all of it is there. So that helped me to put all these stories together.
Yeah, actually, Mr. Narada's book came out during the Golden Jubilee year of Federation of Film Societies of India, and 2009, I think. And good to know that that was the inspiration for your book.
Yeah. When I started, people said, "Have you seen that?" So I went, found that, but I think I got it from Bombay or somewhere. Mr. Nandokar, the Pravatji, Sudhirji. Yeah. They had some copies, so they sent me that. So,
My next question is, how did you go about collecting, so much information? You have humongous information in the book, and what was the methodology you followed to collect
the
so
methodology
much?
is simple journalistic thing. We all as journalists, trained journalists. I worked with the Hindu, the business line in the initial team. So is Varadarajan, my colleague and senior. So we all, we follow up stories. We need to trace something. We diligently go around. People, talk to people, get all the documents possible, and journalists, whatever is their limitation, we are trained to do that. Trained to get to the bottom of the things. It's up to each one how far, how deep they want to go. The daily media, you're not allowed to. You don't have space for that and time for that. But when you work on a book, I can speak to people. I can visit. Like I went and met Munalda. So, Calcutta Film Society, I found my colleague in IMC. He was the treasurer there. So I talked to him and met the whole gang there. So he's in Bombay. I went to Sudhirji, and then the only thing is there was a film society called Anandam. Gopal Dutia was running it, and he immigrated to US. So I couldn't get to him. But I talked to Khalid Muhammad about Film Forum. Then there was Mr. Bikram Singh, is a IR Indian Railway Service officer who resigned and became a filmmaker. He produced one of the films of Buddhadev Das Gupta. He was the secretary of the second film inquiry committee headed by Dr. Shivarama Karanth. So when I met him, he said, "Have you seen our report?" I said, "No." "Okay, I'm giving you a copy." I still have that copy. So they have also appreciated the role of Film Society movement. How, why I start with Padaya Panchali, the film, its impact. It's again, Dr. Shivarama Karanth report acknowledges that. Because of the popularity of Padaya Panchali, the whole scenario changed. That is a trigger. So that way, it's like meeting people. And Delhi was center of all these activities. There are a lot of people who are, by the time I met Akka, Vijay Molai, we used to call her Akka. Everybody calls her Akka. So I think when she was 90, like Mrinalda. So before she died, I met her three or four times. We became very friendly. Last time even recorded video recordings in my YouTube. You can see V. Kecharian, is maybe one of the rare videos of her talking about Film Society and all this thing. She's in her bed. She's sitting on the bed and talking. So because she is very informal lady. Her daughter is again Suhasini Molai. She's still an actress and very this thing. And she, people like her, she was a CPI's card holding member, till Soviet army went to Prague, in Czechoslovakia. Then she said, no, I don't want to be associated with such parties, and she became independent. That kind of, there's a different, I found out these people are different. They were highly motivated in what they're doing. So that's an inspiration to talk to them and get to know what inspired them, how they went about it. Like, I have quoted her that, look, we never knew that Indian films are going to be like this. They're going places, whether it is good films or commercial films. Bollywood, is parallel to Hollywood. So they say that we never thought that such a thing will happen, but it will happen. And we never thought it will grow like this. So that it's an inspiring story, because they're saying that, look, we did what we could because we are making new India. So that's
well, there are a number of references in the book. So many of them, and apart from Mr. Narayana's book on the movement, in your opinion, which are some of the best references you found?
Chidananda Das Gupta's books, he whatever he writes, there is a reference. And then, I don't know whether you have seen, there is a Dutch researcher who has done a series of videos on Satyajit Ray after his death. It's on YouTube, So he met everybody, including Chidananda Das Gupta, and talked to them how they formed Calcutta Film Society, what are the issues, all these things. I think it's 10 minutes each, with Chiduda about 7 sessions, Samantracharya 5-6 sessions, with everybody around Satyajit Ray. So I found out, because while searching for things, these things emerge. That's why. So you follow that and follow the lead. That is what I kept doing. Like you meet. I was shocked to find out that Roorkee Film Society, I don't know who knows about them. Somebody suddenly told me, you worked in Financial Express, your editor was so and so. I said, yes. Do you know that he was Delhi Film Society secretary, and he got inspired from Roorkee? So I said, my God, yeah, you called him up. I said, sir, what about this? Yes, my One of my relatives was working there, so I used to go there. That's how I first saw what is the film society. They had a 16 screen, and they used to show films there. So it's like, one thing leads to other. So that's how. And of course, there is a mention of all these things in Mr. Narayana Rao's book. That's a thing, What I went about is I went about digging past that articles and meetings and all references. What is the story behind it? What inspired them to do things and all? Like Anil, when Mary Satan, there is a lot of reference of Mary Satan. But who is she? What did she do? How did she end up in India? And what was her role in various things, So she was instrumental in resurrecting Calcutta Film Society after Padai Panchali. Because Ray got interested in films, began to make films. So he lost interest in Film Society because he didn't have time. So it was, from 25 membership, it grew to 250 and then it went down. But after Padai Panchali, they say they had also up to 1,000 members. So you dig around and then you find, like Pradipta Sen was joint secretary. He died recently. He was joint secretary those days. He was a journalist. So I met him. He had all the stories, He said, who are the people, who was the inspiration, what are the things like. And he sent me all these photographs, old photographs from their collection. So.
Yeah, something very interesting about the book is that on the one hand, it talks about all the important issues, important factors which have impacted the film society movement over the decades, like the government policy, then economic system itself, it has changed, then technology, so many things. And along with that, you also have very interesting anecdotes, like there's such a big crowd during a Battleship Potemkin screening that Satyajit Ray had to sit on the staircase of the auditorium. And somewhere else I read that as somebody who was member of Chitralekha Film Society, that was in 70s in Kerala. That was the time, V.K. Cherian, he has written that, he was delighted once, when he was standing in the queue just behind Adur Gopalakrishnan and his wife Sunanda. That was for screening of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
That is in a regular theatre, in the commercial theatre, because that has just got released in Sri Goma Theatre in Trivandrum. Yeah. Everybody is excited because Milos Forman, that's one of the films which Jack Nicholson got an Oscar. Milos Forman had just, those days from Eastern Bloc countries, people used to escape to, filmmakers and artists used to escape to the West. It was a, part of the Cold War thing. So Milos Forman, the Czech filmmaker, went to Hollywood, made this film. It was a big excitement in that whole, film society crowd and all. So we on one of the evenings when I went to see that, some of us scholar student, I find Adur is such that he won't ask for any. He was a celebrity by then, but he won't ask for any specialty, and he's also standing in the queue buying ticket to go in. So that is, he said, no, I'm a filmmaker, so I'm also interested in films. So why should I ask for a special this thing, reserve a seat for me? Nowadays it all happens, Nowadays, I've seen last film festival in Kerala. There's a big queue and all, but then there are guest lists, like less guest seats reserved for people like Adur. So Adur, when he sees me, he said that just come with me. So I go with him. Nobody will stop me. I go and sit. So that's a privilege now for him. Those days it was like, in the commercial theater, who bothers? They are waiting. They won't, unless the owner comes and sees that dude is standing there. Otherwise, the normal fellows, there's no television, not much of media influx those days. So it is all normal.
Yeah, there's so many delightful anecdotes in the book, and just one more is which I relished was that Rajiv Gandhi, he applied for membership
Oh, Delhi Film
in
Society.
Delhi Film Society, and well, he didn't get it.
He didn't get it. I asked the editor who was the secretary then. He says, I think he applied and he didn't come for the interview. He thought maybe being Prime Minister's son, he will get it automatically, but they didn't oblige. So that's a thing. But the most interesting anecdote is about MS Satyu and Garam Hawa. Garam Hawa is a historic film which every film buff knows about it. But that film was, how many people know that it was blocked by censors for years, for months? Then Mrs. Gandhi was told, as usual, that look, there is a film which is supposed to be very good, but your censor is not clearing it. He said, why? It's about migration, Indo-Pak divide and Muslims and the rest of the Muslims who stayed back. She said, okay, let me see it. We saw it. Satyu was there. It's like it is also produced by FFC. So people's reputation, work, everything is involved. She saw it. Gautam called, told me he was also there then. Mrs. Gandhi looked back to Gautam and said, Gautam, what is wrong with this film? Oh, I can understand. Conservative Muslims might oppose of a Muslim girl romancing in Yamuna Kinare. I think that we can handle, no? So that's her response to after seeing the film. And I asked Satyu this. He said, yes, I went through hell. I said, after seeing, she seeing it, it was released? No, I was asked to wait. There was UP elections. So he said, you release it after the UP elections. So poor thing had to, after completing, I think he had to wait for almost 1 year to release the film. But then it became a rave. It's a epoch-making film. Satyu will be remembered in history for that film. Maybe not other films of him, but that film definitely. One of the discussion, I said, you in the history is going to be a one film wonder. He looked at me. So that's, how come how did it happen? Because of, thanks to Mrs. Gandhi. If she has not seen it, it will be there lying. One more film lying in, without censorship is nobody's business.
Yeah, you have written about. Oh, okay. Time for starting the Q&A. Okay.
Just use the mic.
What would be the state of films that are censored and put away? Can you elaborate on that? So you were talking about Garam Hawa, and
if let's say FFC, it is an FFC produced film. Those days it is celluloid. I don't think Satya can keep it. It's celluloid was highly inflammable. Well, Satya had only option is to give it to archive, to keep it for safekeeping. And there is another story, related story. A lot of these commercial films which flopped. So people didn't know where to keep it, producers. What they used to do is, let's say a Bangalore filmmaker, commercial film flopped. He will book it on the longest train passing through Bangalore and with a fake address, and he'll book it. Finally, it becomes a property of railways. Unless, of course, somebody from archive finds it and takes it. So that's, a flip side of it. But such films, serious films, it goes to, If it is produced by FFC or NFDC, it is with the archive. It used to be, now it's different. So,
So,
Hello. I just wanted to ask, what is your take on the transition of film from like film to digital? Because now you have sort of auteur filmmakers like Tarantino and Nolan, where they are still sort of shooting their movies on celluloid, and you have Scorsese, who's also shooting on celluloid, but he's not unafraid to embrace digital. In his film The Irishman, there's a lot of VFX work, and in which he uses a lot of infrared cameras. So I think Tarantino also once said something about how films should be continued to be shot on celluloid, and how the future generation is supposedly doomed if it's to be shot on film. So what is your take on this? Are you sort of a traditionalist in terms of maintaining that films be shot on celluloid, or are you sort of embracing the change and just worried about stories still being told no matter how, whether it be on film or celluloid? Because a lot of younger filmmakers, they do not have access to film, and now that's even rarer now, right? But with a phone, anyone can make anything, and that's digital. So it also makes it more exclusive for people to make films. So what is your take on that?
I think, you see, film is a capital intensive medium. You need, nowadays, even for regional films, you need a couple of crores to make a film. And celluloid, it's very difficult to get. There is, recently I saw a Malayalam film acted by Mammootty, one black and white, Mumbai. It's an OTT. But it's a digital stuff. You can create the same impact with digital. And I don't think Americans can do it because they have the money and wherewithal. And they have the market too, I don't think Indian filmmakers can afford it. Like people like Kumar Shani used to say that, look, with celluloid the film died. With digital you can do anything. You can manipulate reality like the way it was never before. So I don't want to make films, but ultimately he didn't do anything. After that it totally went digital. Because the economics of it doesn't allow it. In India at least. Americans can do it because see, their market is big. There is enough people who are moneyed and passionate about a lot of things, old and new. So that way it continues.
Yeah, hi. So my question is, see, can a digital film society, create someone like an Adur Gopalakrishnan or something like the new French wave? Because isn't a community essential for something like that to happen? That's my question. So I have my own. I'm skeptical whether digital film society is a community at all. So unless it's hybrid, at least. So that's my question.
Yeah. See. Let's take the example of Talking Films Online. Which I talked to. They have an annual conference. People who can, like academics, they have the funds to travel and have a seminar. Right? So they do that. But the rest of the time, like every week, any of the members can suggest a film. Like this week, today, my friend professor talking about 27 Down. He said that's an important film. Have you discussed it? I said okay, fine. You initiate the discussion. So they send the link to everybody. I find about 15 to 20 people come there, and they look at the film from all sides. So which is interesting. Like now, what used to happen in an earlier film society is that people, after seeing the film, you sit back, half an hour you discuss, or informally discuss outside the hall, and then go about it. Yes, there has to be a hybrid, but this whole thing will stabilize over a period of time. Now people are saying that, look, TFO, for instance, I from Delhi, the people from Jodhpur, people from Bangalore, people from Hyderabad, people from Kerala, people from Assam, people from Orissa, all of them. It's a pan-India thing which has happened, which we used to get only in a film festival. So think of that. People are looking at various angles, various perspectives, various insights. Everything comes in. It is, for me, it is very interesting. Even if I can't go, I will see the recorded portion of it because it's a that gives you a lot of insights into how people perceive how films are, all of it. So it will, I think it will stabilize into a hybrid model, but it takes time because again, who has the money and time to go around and socialize? As of now, only the academics. And that's why I'm pinning all my hope on the academics of continuing this whole moment of film appreciation, serious film appreciation, because they have mandated to do that. So they will do it, whether you like it or not. What shape it will take, we still don't know. It won't be like there could be filmmakers coming out of that groups also.
Yeah, so I had a question regarding. So you said you were talking about commercial films and films being made for just commercial purposes, and films such as the film of Savarkar being released just before elections for the politics.
Political propaganda.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, aren't they still a medium of expression and medium of art? And my question is, because should the medium of like art be looked down upon just because it is being commercialized? Or
No, not at all. See, you remember what happened with the Kashmir Files story? It was shown in the National Film Festival. What that Israeli filmmaker said.
I don't know.
So that you Google that Kashmir File Naved Lapid. You'll find he said that look, any you can shoot film on any sensitive issue, anybody, but it has to be balanced. Look from all angles. Don't just make it one-sided propaganda. Don't make it a political slogan and say it's a creative work. No, it's not. In that case, each political slogan is, and each politician is a creative artist. We don't consider them as creative artists. They are propagating an ideology. They have a particular opinion. So that's where it happens. Propaganda and creative activity is totally different. Creative activity is something. That's what all artists, novelists, theatre people, writers, all of them do creative work. And it is not one-sided. They look at life and art and everything, painters, in a perspective which they accumulate over the years and then come out with new things. The propaganda doesn't have that kind of thing. They just bombard you with their views, that's all. That's where the issue comes.
Last question.
Yeah, hi, my name is Onik there, and I just wanted to ask you, since you spoke about the Nehruvian era in the upkeeping of film societies and with ardent filmmakers like Satyajit Ray, Mrinal Sen, to name a few, why do you think the National Film Archive restoration and upkeeping of the classics of that time have not been up to the mark? Don't you think had the film upkeeping quality or just the restoration quality have at National Film Archives for the films that were showcased to the, say, class to class society, be it a French movie or just an Indian regional movie, had it been upkept and restored at a better quality or done with more on honesty, don't you think it would have been easy for you to now move on from the 16mm 30mm movie showreels from that time to the digital society that you're looking to make it now?
No, it is done. It is not done like what Americans have done. They are not remastered it. See, there was a big film heritage project of 500 crores. So most of it is done by that Ad Labs studio. I know people like Adur went to the studio, sat with those people, frame by frame, they digitized it. So digitization and remastering a film is totally different. Remastering means, they look at the soundtrack, everything. Digitization means they just, grab it on the digital, make it a digital format. So all the issues, like Munalda said that Without his presence, they did some digitization in Bombay. So to his horror, he found out all that day scenes were dark and night scenes were white. So that kind of stuff happens. So it's a mechanical stuff. So what this Americans have, this Italian lab is doing is it's a creative stuff. They talk to people, they look at his style of filmmaking, they look at all possible angles of that film and get to the core of what did that filmmaker intended with that film. So can we digitally recreate it? So that kind of serious thing has not happened because it's a government setup in India, archive. Now it's become commercialized. And I know last time I spoke to that director, before it became a corporation, they said they were planning to give a global tender on it. But didn't happen. It became a corporation and government's priorities changed.
On behalf of PIC, I'd like to thank Mr. V.K. Cherian and Mr. Babu Subramanian for being here with us tonight. I'd like to thank the audience for your time and interest. Thank you all for being here. Have a good night.